2019, when Superior Search and Rescue received a grant from the Portage Health Auxiliary and Gift Shop at UP Health System Portage, they helped originally fund the first unit, which was a Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual. It was, the start of the public safety series of units from the DJI, the company. One of the big things about that was that it gave us a new capability of being able to see stuff in the sky. Normally, we've always had to use Civil Air Patrol, but Civil Air Patrol is flying to 1,000 feet above, and you're just not always going to get the best imagery when you're looking for an individual on the ground. One of the big things on having a drone was that we can get a little bit closer to the ground, and then we also had the new capability of having thermal imagery from above. You kind of had to know what you were looking for, but it was still a lot more than what we had before. We've used it in multiple incidents from every single search from 2019 to now. And then of course in the last year, we've expanded more and more into other incidents, like down in Ontonagon, there was a fire that we assisted with. And then of course everybody knows about the tanker spill that happened in Hancock last year, providing imagery of both the incident itself along with monitoring the Portage Canal for fuel spill. The image was not 100% the best, but it was the beginning of that type of technology in this type of platform. You could identify a hotspot, but you couldn't tell exactly what that hotspot was. Sometimes it might be a bear, or sometimes it could be a person. Some of the other little drawbacks on it was the flight time was top of the line then, but it's expanded since. About 25 minutes or so. And of course, the downtime between when one mission ends and one mission starts usually was about 5 to 10 minutes, because you'd have to shut down the entire unit, replace the battery, and then you have to wait for it to reboot before you can go back up in the air. We started to look at expanding the program after we saw that the old unit was getting a lot more usage outside of just searches. One of the it really was trying to expand the program was one of the goals of it in the beginning anyway. It just started to come up to where we needed to. DJI, the manufacturer, released a new unit that was designed specifically around industrial usage and public safety usage, which is what we have here, the M300. So the first step obviously was for funding. We contacted a company downstate to try to get a quote on about how much this unit will cost. All in all, about $41,000 was going to be needed for this. The first step that we followed up was with the Portage Health Foundation with a letter of inquiry. We've worked with Portage Health Foundation with a few other grant programs, and of course a lot of the Giving Tuesday events, so we've had a good working relationship. So we reached out with a letter of inquiry to kind of talk about some of the new features that are available in this newer unit, some of the costs, and of course some of the reasons why we needed it. We saw down in Paulding some of the stuff in a few of those searches, or in that search and a few other searches, that aerial assets aren't always the best to get, or the easiest to get sometimes. By bringing something like that here to our local community, we could be pretty quick to get up in the air. So we reached out with the letter of inquiry, heard back some feedback, and of course we worked a lot on that proposal and submitted it to the Portage Health Foundation. That same proposal was also modified, of course, to bring in the Portage Health Auxiliary, because they were one of the original funders of the original program, and we really wanted to make sure that they were involved with the continuation of this. They were such a great partner to work with the first time around. We wanted to make sure they came back around again. In December, it was the month of giving for our organization. Not only did we receive the Giving Tuesday funds, but the Portage Health Foundation awarded us a $30,000 grant that helped kickstart this, along with a $5,000 grant from the Portage Health Auxiliary was awarded to us. That helped fund the majority of this program. This is the DJI Matrice M300 RTK. It's a very big mouthful. This unit is capable of flying at 55 minutes, depending on the payloads that are attached. As you can see here, we have our 2 primary payloads, which includes the H20T camera module, which includes thermal, laser rangefinder, a 20 times zoom lens, and then of course we have a spotlight. Both of these are on separate gimbals, features that we didn't have before on the other unit. So we can control each one of these independently of each other. Our old unit had a light, but it was a set and forget kind of unit. While this, we can adjust mid-flight. Our laser rangefinder also provides us the ability to pinpoint an individual. So if we are up in the air and we locate an individual, we can pinpoint and get the exact coordinates of where that individual is, pass that down to a ground team to get them out there. We've had before we located the person, but we haven't been able to get the exact location of where they are. One of the other big features of this is downtime between launches. So once we bring it down, it will only take a few seconds to actually swap out the batteries, and you don't have to shut down the whole unit because it's powered by 2 of these TB60 battery units, and you can swap each one out at a time and keep the unit active. Other great features of the unit includes dual controls. Being able to have our pilot focus on just piloting and not operating the cameras is a huge help. Being able to just focus on flying the unit, because it's always a lot of work to not only fly but also take care of your camera controls. So we can have one pilot dedicated to flying and another one dedicated to working the cameras. Allows you to get more eyes on the scene, and of course we can also have dual operator where we can expand our flight path. So you can have one unit over in, for example, Houghton, fly it halfway across the Portage Lake lift bridge, and another pilot can take over in Hancock and keep flying. So we keep that continuous operation going. So say if we're doing a line search, you can see how the older footage was a little bit more blurry. You can identify some objects, but it wasn't always the best. Compared to the new unit, you can clearly see an individual walking around at several hundred feet in the air. And of course, not only there is the thermal imagery, but even the normal color imagery. I mean, you're able to zoom in 20 times on this thing and be able to read a license plate from several hundred feet in the air. You can identify people. You can clearly know what you're looking at, even at night. Night flying has always been a big thing with drone operations, and that ends up being a lot of what we do. Being able to see what we need to see at night is one of the biggest things that we need for. One of the big things about making the community a safer place with this is being able to actually see what you're going to be doing. Being able to focus in on what you're doing, being able to identify the proper objects. I mean, you may be flying an operation where you're looking for a missing person, and if you looking at the old thermal imagery, you may run over them. With this new unit, you'll be able to clearly see that person, even at several hundred feet in the air. The quicker that we can come to a resolution of an incident, the better the outcome will be. Everyone here at Superior Search and Rescue really does want to say thank you to everybody that's helped us out to get us this far. The Portage Health Foundation has been a major help, along with the Portage Health Auxiliary and Gift Shop at UPL System Portage. Without those two, we would not have been able to achieve what we have here. And of course, everybody who helped us with donations during Giving Tuesday 2021. A portion of that funding went towards this project, and without them, without all these people helping us, we won't be able to make the country a safer place.